Hey! Welcome to, or back to, BarbieCoProductions. And today I'm going to be doing a tutorial on this dress. As some people ask for more clothes tutorials, which some of you may have seen in this video. So let's get straight into the tutorial. Now, moving on to the dress. I'm going to be making the white dress in a curvy Barbie size. Like this one that is also for a curvy Barbie. For this dress, I'm using super stretchy fabric, so there will be no fasteners. And for the skirt, I'm using linen, but you can use anything. Now, let's actually start making the dress. So for this dress, we're going to start off with the skirt, and I'm going to run 2 lines of gather stitches along the top edge on the right side of the fabric. But this fabric is the same on both sides, so it doesn't really matter. And if you're hand sewing, you can do 2 lines of running stitch. And once you've done that, you can take the 2 strings on the top and pull them gently, moving the gather along the skirt. Then repeat on the other end. Once you've done that, it should look something like this, but before we move on, I am going to check it against the bodice fabric. The skirt fabric should be slightly bigger than the bodice, as you want it to be able to fit over the hips because there'll be no fasteners. Now I'm going to pin the bodice and the skirt together on both ends. And while it's pinned, we want the bodice fabric to be slightly stretched out so that it will go over the hips. Now I've just evened out the gather so that it is in line with the bodice fabric. The next step is to sew a straight stitch through the 2 gather stitches. Now, I've sewn my straight stitch. I've also trimmed back the fabric and added a zigzag stitch to stop the fabric from fraying. And if you have any leftover gather stitch, you can pull that out as well. Now I'm going to flip this back seam up and run a top stitch along the bodice line to hold it in place so it won't look bulky. You also don't have to do this, it's just an extra detail. Also, on this other dress, I have the seam folded down and the stitch is on the skirt line. To make the sleeves, I have this piece of fabric and I'm going to fold it right sides together to make a tube, and we're going to sew along the top edge, then cut 2 sleeves out of it. Now that I have my 2 sleeves, I'm going to turn them in the right way. Now, With the seam facing down, I'm going to get a Barbie and I'm going to wrap the sleeve around to get the measurement. Depending on what Barbie you're using, the sleeve tightness may vary, but for a curvy Barbie, it's the right size as is. Then we'll turn it in the right way so that the seam is on the inside. Oh, and I nearly forgot, but make sure to hem the bottom of the skirt as it's easiest to do when the dress is flat. I've just pinned the dress on so I can see the length and decide how much shorter I want to make it. Now, you can do a short hem and have the length not change that much, but I want to make this dress shorter, so I'm going to have my finished length just above the knee, which means I'll pin the fabric up, so just along the edge, then cut off the excess fabric. Now that I have it all pinned in place, it's time to sew it up. So now that the skirt is hemmed and cut down, we're going to move onto the back of the dress. Now, working with the wrong side facing out, I'm going to wrap it around my doll and pin it in place. If you match the seam where the skirt meets the bodice and then match them in the middle, then pull slightly so that it's fitted at the bodice. The main aim is that there is still enough stretch in the fabric that you're able to pull it over the hips because there are no fasteners. Now I've sewn that in a straight stitch and trimmed off the excess. I also did a zigzag stitch because the linen does tend to fray. Now I'm going to attach the sleeves to the dress. Also, you don't have to sew the sleeves to the dress, but I find it a lot easier to film when they're attached. To attach the sleeves, I'm going to do a few little hand stitches, as well as a couple of stitches in the middle to form a gather. Now I'll stitch up and down like that a few times. And the dress is finished. And here's the final reveal. I love these dresses so much. And that will be the end of today's video. I really hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please be sure to like and subscribe down below. Bye! Thank you so much for watching. Check out the videos above.